One, two. Welcome to the Video and
Video
Vinyl
and Vinyl
Club. I'm Emmy Wildwood. I'm a musician and art director.
And I'm Erin Mars, and I'm a director, writer, musician, actor. Ba 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 ba. Keep going. I'm gonna stop there. So we're so excited. I'm really excited about our episode today because I had talked to you about this film a while ago, and you were like, "I'm not gonna watch that film." And then somehow I convinced you. And what's great about it is this is one of those films. We're actually kind of going to be talking about two films. So you are probably, if you are into movies or have gone to the movies lately, maybe seen a preview, or maybe you've even seen this film. It's called Speak No Evil. And we are going to be talking about the American version and
The
Danish version, which came out first. And I love to watch movies in this way. So
I know we've touched on this before, but like that this is a growth experience for me. I never watched horror movies my whole life, and it just made me think of this story. I thought, I know you're laughing, so Erin's laughing so hard because I have watched it's Halloween season, it's October, and we decided to make it like a horror movie themed month.
Yeah, we're going with the theme. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, but now all of a sudden I've watched like 500 horror movies.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
in
you've
a
been
month.
a real trooper. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny, you know, like, okay, so just for a little measurement, remember the movie Monster?
Yes.
With Charlize Theron?
Yes.
Erin. Anyways,
Yes, I remember that movie.
Okay, well, I was in college when that movie came out and I had like severe anxiety. And
great movie to watch.
I didn't see it. Okay. So I was like, that's the first time I started to like avoid movies that were like scary. I was like, no, I can't deal with that. Like my own life is stressful enough or whatever. But little did I know in college, I thought that was hard. But anyways, so I didn't want to go see scary movies, and that was the sort of season Monster came out, and Monster did so well in the box office, right?
So well, yes.
So one of my really good friends went to go see it, and when she came back, she knew about like my anxiety and my stress and my fear of watching like heavy movies or scary movies, and she was like, "Don't see Monster, whatever you do. Don't, like, if you don't like scary movies, like definitely don't see Monster." So I mean, like, she drove it home so hard.
Feels like an ad for the film. Yeah.
Yeah, like, but she drove it home so hard that I would have like a visceral reaction to the poster. I like an ad would come on the TV for it, and I'd like have a panic attack.
Whoa.
Then it was like Oscar season, and it was like nominated for 4,000 Oscars, and it was everywhere. And so all of a sudden I was like really just couldn't handle seeing it.
You were
was like
inundated.
I was inundated. It made it so much worse. Anyways, ever since then, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be like, if somebody's like, you really need to see this, I'm like, fine, I'll go see it. Like, I'm not going to be afraid of anything. I'm not afraid of anything. You know what I mean? I will not be afraid of anything. So
yeah, you're an Aries. You're not afraid of anything.
Yeah, no,
you can
I'm
do
not.
everything.
That's right. I'm not scared of anything anymore. But anyways, so it's just funny because I have missed so many scary movies in my life because I avoided them for so long, and now I don't know, we're going to the other end of the spectrum. I think I'm getting a little desensitized.
We really well,
like, I don't know what that says, but
we got special stuff. We'll talk more at the end of this episode about our plans for the next future episodes, which we're both kind of excited and a little bit terrified of.
Yes.
So let's jump into this really great film.
Okay.
Or films, let's say. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the Danish one, and then you can talk a little bit about the American one.
Okay.
And we'll talk about the differences.
Okay, great.
Sounds good, Emmy? Sounds good, audience? Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
So in 2002, this Danish psychological thriller came out directed by Christian Paftrup from a screenplay that he co-wrote with his brother Mads. It was produced by Jacob Jarek and distributed by Nordisk Film. And the filming took place in Denmark, Netherlands, Italy. It was mostly shot in English with some Danish and Dutch because the characters, essentially a Dutch couple meets a Danish couple, and the common language between them is English. So they're speaking English for most of the film, pretty much, unless they're talking to each other and having a little bit of a sidebar or private conversation. But even then, it's really mostly English in which they're speaking. And basically, this Danish couple, they get invited by the Dutch couple to come to their country for a holiday weekend. And they're not sure if they want to go. They thought that's really polite. They get invited. They're, with some friends and talking, and the husband's like, yeah, we should do this. And the wife's kind of reluctant, but she eventually says, fine, let's go. And so they take their daughter and they go visit this Dutch couple at their home where they are with their son, who does not have the ability to speak. And they show up, and over time, the boundary gets pushed on politeness. First, they come in and they are served meat, and the wife is a vegetarian. And they had actually had a conversation about that with the couple when they first met them in Italy, where they were all vacationing together. But she's very polite. She takes, the husband's like, here, take this bite. The Dutch guy's giving it to the Danish woman, and she's like, yeah, okay, I guess, and like takes the little bite. And this is the theme that runs throughout. So it's almost like it reminded me of that phrase. It's like you just take one step over that boundary line, and then you take one more step, and you take one more step and one more step. And by the time you realize how far away from your own boundary you are, you can't even see where your last boundary line was. And that's pretty much what happens in this film. The film also, I don't want to give this away because I really love this movie and I think it's really fun. But both films, the American and the Danish version, are pretty much the same up until the ending. So we have a cultural, there's slight differences, right, Emmy? I mean, there's like some differences between certain moments, but it almost feels like it's a page for page until we get to the end. Now, let's talk about
Well, first of all, I think it's really interesting that you like the theme of this movie you identified right off the bat, which is like pushing the boundaries on politeness and how dangerous it can be to be too polite.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Like how dangerous it can be to not stand up for yourself when you're in a situation that's like not necessarily life or death, but it can add up. So it's like,
Yeah, the stakes feel low until you keep going.
Yeah, like if somebody eats something they're allergic to, but they eat it out of politeness, that's dangerous. Like there's dangerous stuff, there's danger to politeness. And it's sort of like all horror movies, it's taking that idea that there's danger to politeness and as far as it can possibly go. Like to what point are you gonna lay down and be a doormat? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think it touches on a cultural trope that Danish people are generally very, very polite, almost overly polite. And the passive aggressive behavior that the Dutch people come in with really turns up the heat on how they're really pushing. It's almost a game. You start to very quickly realize this is a game a little bit with the Dutch couple. They're they almost feel like it's funny in a way to make them uncomfortable. They talk about other couples they've been friends with who are from other cultures and how they were really uptight. And that makes the Danish man almost more apt to show them he's loose and he's cool, and be
Right.
like, no, I'm cool, guys,
Right.
and go further and further and further from where he actually feels safe and okay, to the point where it endangers his family. And
Yeah.
it does endanger the family. When I finished watching this, and I'm so sorry, I'll finish this thought and then please share yours.
No,
But
go ahead.
when this movie finished, I thought this film should actually be called "Why Doesn't the Husband Say Anything?"
Yeah,
Like the
exactly.
end. The horror of it is partially like, why doesn't the husband just tell his wife what the F is going on?
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
that ending is different than what happens in the American version in some ways. Because, and I'm just going to give this spoiler because I think it is important to differentiate the two. In this film, the couple dies and their child gets taken from them. That does not happen in the American version.
No, in the American version, they fight back.
They fight back.
Right.
And that's why I was
Because,
so curious to see both versions, right? And you
right.
saw both versions. We both
Well,
watched them.
I called you afterwards and I was like, it ends totally differently. And you said that you had spoken to a friend of yours who was Danish or Nordic or or Dutch or
Mhm.
something, and talked about how it's culturally extremely polite over there. Like,
Mhm.
um, and so in the Danish version, the the couple who's sort of being held captive by another couple who's invited them to vacation and they don't really know that well. Um, they have trouble standing up for themselves because they don't want to be rude, basically, right?
Right, right. Because to be perceived as rude is like the worst thing in the world. Right.
Right, right. And I think there's some of that in parts of America. Like, um, you know, we don't, I mean, New England's so polite and so passive aggressive. I'm like, it's crazy. Do you know what I mean?
That's where
There's,
I grew up. Yep.
oh yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's
I'm
like,
a New Englander. Yep.
yeah. Well, and that was like a culture shock kind of for me, honestly, because I come from the West Coast,
Mm.
specifically the Southwest, specifically a border town that's cowboy country, where we
Yeah, we're from
say,
diagonal parts of the country.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
and it's like where if you don't yell like, yo, there's a rattlesnake under your feet at somebody, they're gonna get stung and die. So we're used to sort of saying exactly what's on our minds from over, I it's not that dire over there, but I'm just saying it's culturally a little bit louder. They deal with similar inabilities to say what they're really thinking, to be
Yes.
rude in this American film, but they do it for different reasons. It's
Yeah.
like Americans can't be polite, they can't be rude unless they have a good reason for it. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. And I think there's also this fear that Americans already feel like they're called rude all the time. So they're a little bit self-conscious when they're in Europe to be perceived as not the rude American, right? They don't want to
Right,
be seen as the rude American. They want to be
right,
seen as like more sophisticated, because to
right,
be rude means a lack of sophistication and
right.
thoughtfulness. I thought it's also very interesting, and something that they kind of had to do in the American version that came out 2 years later, was made 2 years later, that the couple is, it's not an American couple and a Dutch couple, it's an American couple and a British couple, which already, the British and Americans, we have our thing about who's saying words the right way, and
Yeah.
we kicked them out of the country and all that kind of stuff. We've
Yes.
a lot of history there. And I think that's even more so why they're a little bit like uh more apt in some ways to try to blend in.
The story is that this couple from, England or whatever invites this American couple who they've met on a weekend away. They're all vacationing at the same resort and they meet each other
In Italy.
in
Yep.
Italy.
Mhm.
And they push very hard to have the American couple come visit them in the country of England,
Mm-hmm.
right? To
Countryside.
come
Yep.
the countryside to come visit them. So first and foremost, to have a strange couple pressuring you to come visit. So like first of all, I would never do that. That's just like who I am. Like you said, what did you say this movie should be called? When is the husband gonna say something?
Yes.
Mine
Yes.
was, I think the movie should be called I Would Never Do That. Like, like
Yeah.
I would never like it call me like stuffy or
Yeah.
unadventurous, but like I would not go stay in the countryside with a couple I just met one weekend. I wouldn't do that. That would be too hard for me. I'd be like, I don't want to make conversation, get
Yeah.
with people I don't know that well. Like, and there is this, the whole thing in the American film is that they don't have a lot of friends. They've just moved to England. They don't have a lot of friends. So fine. That's why, I don't know. That's not how I want to make
And
friends.
I think
I
that's
would
a
never
little
do that.
bit, yeah, no, I get it. And I think that's a little bit implied also in the original, is that the
Yeah.
couple's a little bit bored. I think both of these couples, they've
Yeah.
been married, they have a kid who's around eight-ish, 7, 10. I
Hmm.
think in the American one, she's older. I think in the Danish one, she's a little younger. But they're a little bit bored. They're married and they're a little bit bored. And so this opportunity comes up and it feels exciting. And
Yeah.
the husband seems to be a little bit more extra bored, at least in
Hmm.
the Danish one. And the wife's more like, okay, like, I guess I'll go along with this. Why not? But she's also the person, and this is something that reminded me when we were talking about intuition. The woman in both versions, the women pretty quickly go, I want to leave.
Oh, yeah.
Different things will happen, and they're like, they're weird. I want to go. And the husband is like, you're overreacting, right? Relax,
Hmm.
at least in the very beginning.
Yeah.
And someone had said, I saw this thing, I think it was like on Instagram, whatever, some meme, or maybe it was on TikTok, talking about asking AI how to have a woman not trust, or like how to have a woman like lose her self-esteem or whatever, or make her go crazy. And one of the things it
Oh,
said was have her stop trusting her intuition by almost like gaslighting, like your intuition's wrong,
yeah.
saying like, no, that's wrong. What are you saying? What are you saying? Like getting someone to separate their ability from trusting their intuition and that inner voice
Yeah.
makes them easier to control because they're no longer listening to that root inside of them that's like, this is fucked up. Let me be safe and
Yeah.
leave because
Yeah.
right? And that's what I kind of also thought was going on. It's like the women are immediately pretty tuned into like something's fucking weird. And
Mhm.
even with the other woman and the other couple, it's almost like they're trying to kind of get along, but it's not like they meet this woman and it's like, yo, we're girls.
Yeah. No, totally. And the woman in both films takes a chance at saying something that's uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
specifically in the Danish version, she gets upset when they're driving in the car on the way back from the roadhouse
Mm-hmm.
and he's playing the music really loud and
They're
she's sort
drunk
of and
driving.
yeah,
Yep.
and she gets really mad and sort of loses her temper and screams.
Mm-hmm.
The worst thing ever. So that's like a very contentious moment in the Danish version. And then in the
Yes.
American version,
And that is after they had tried to leave.
I know. Well,
That
that's the
is
other thing.
night two. They had already tried to leave, and the husband says, let's just give it one more night. It will be fun.
Yeah. And then well, that's the thing is like she's saying she wants to leave several times, starting very early in the movie, the very
Yeah.
first evening she wants to leave, and they get all the way in the car and they leave and they
Yes.
drive far away in both
Yes.
films.
Yes.
And they realize that the daughter has left her stuffed toy there and it's a emotional support stuffed toy and she's
Yep.
freaking out without it and it's like I've actually experienced this in real life with my niece. She
Yes.
left there's a whole family trip got derailed because she has an emotional support toy. And so they
Yes.
they they mailed puppy across the country because she could not chill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if you've
Yeah.
ever seen a kid,
Lose
attached to
it.
lose it over their
Mhm.
emotional support toy, you're like, okay, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Like, so that to me was I was like, fine, I forgive you for that one. I get that. Okay. What I couldn't believe was that a fight did, like in both films, when they get all the way back there, they are confronted by the husband of the couple immediately,
Yep.
who is
Yes.
100% awkward and a little bit rude
And aggressive.
and aggressive. And in
He's
that moment, he bullies them into staying. And that would never happen to me. I would never do that.
Yes. So I was going to say, do you ever see, okay, so we're both married, right? We're both
Yeah, yeah.
in marriages. And could you ever see a situation where you are with your partner and this happens and you're like, I want to leave. And they're like, we need to stay.
If it had been, if it was a situation where it was this awkward,
Mhm.
I would have left. Like sometimes you go somewhere and you're like not having that good of a time, right?
Right. Right.
And you're like, this isn't that fun, you know? But like
Yeah.
in this situation where he's like forcing meat on her and driving drunk, like scary, like you're scared you're gonna die in the car. Like
Yeah.
when the
Very,
yeah, when the daughter wakes up in their bed,
yeah.
I was like, I'm out of here. Like I would have been like, I don't care what anyone says. Like the judgment is out the door. Like,
Yes.
oh, that's very different in scene
Yeah.
in
So to give some
yeah. Yeah,
context,
please do.
in
Sorry.
the original, no, it's okay. So in the original, uh, the Danes have been with the Dutchies, tried to leave, get convinced to stay a second night, go out with the couple, get pretty drunk. The guy drives home wasted. The wife freaks out. They get in the house. They kind of all make amends. Everybody goes to bed. She's in her room with her husband. They kind of have this talk about, there has, you can tell there hasn't been a lot of intimacy in their relationship. And they start to have an intimate moment as their child starts calling them and knocking on the door and can't get into the room. And they instead focus on their physical intimacy. And when that ends, the mom goes to look for the daughter, and the guy who was drunk and weird has taken their daughter into the bed with him and his wife, where he is naked. And the wife is absolutely appalled and goes in and grabs her and is like, we are leaving. And this
Yeah.
is their second attempt at leaving. And they go to leave. And then they get caught again. It's because of the freaking rabbit. They get caught and pulled back in. And the Dutch wife is like, but where were you? We heard her crying. What were you
Yeah, she
doing?
was
Where were
scared.
you?
Yeah.
She was scared. We wanted to comfort her. What were you
Gaslighting,
doing?
gaslighting, talking
Yes.
her out of her, ignoring her intuition there.
And
Absolutely.
the guy had seen that that the other couple was having this intimate moment. Like he kind of watched them hooking up, and then he's like, hoo,
Yeah.
hoo, hoo. And then he goes and grabs that kid. There had been a couple other moments where it's like she's in the shower right before that. She had gone into the bathroom to take a shower, and he just comes in.
Yeah.
And it's just very strange. It's like
No boundaries. No boundaries.
no boundaries, and also almost like an aggressive, like, well, when are you going to say something? Well,
Yeah.
when are you going to say something? When are you
Right.
actually going to say something?
Yeah.
It's like this push, this push. When are you going to say something?
Yeah.
To the point at the end of the film where they say, why are you doing this? And the couple says, you let us, because
So,
you let us.
so people who are like extremely um mentally ill in that way, so
Mhm.
sociopathic,
Sure.
uh, um, they get they get so few feelings of pleasure,
Mhm.
excitement, that they will push another person just to see
Mhm.
them squirm because they need to
Yes.
be in these high risk, high adrenaline
Mhm.
situations to feel
Mhm.
any feelings, right?
Yes.
So I can see like right
Mhm.
off the bat, this guy, the husband in the couple, uh, pushing, pushing the husband, pushing the wife, just starting to collect
Oh yeah.
all the areas in which they're sensitive, all their vulnerabilities. He's
Uh-huh.
noting them, making them feel comfortable talking about them, and and then and then you know somehow flipping it on them to make them feel uncomfortable. Do you know
Oh
what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah. And
Oh yeah.
he keeps them there by saying like this doesn't feel any different than any other conversation we've had. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but
Yeah.
so it's like,
And they call out the cultural differences. Well, we do
yeah,
things differently. You just don't
right.
understand. We do things differently. We're sorry. We
Exactly.
didn't mean to offend you. We just
Mm-hmm.
do things differently. So they stay another day.
Yeah.
Even after this, then they still stay. And then they're making lunch. The wife cuts her hand in the kitchen. And he says, well, the husband goes, well, at least there's a doctor on hand, and turns to in my film, the Dutch husband. Oh, can you look at this? You're a doctor. And he goes, I'm not a doctor. Now, in the Danish film, he maintains he's not a doctor
Yeah.
and says, I get really intimidated. Or his wife says, he gets really intimidated when we meet new people sometimes. So he just tells people that so they're more comfortable. But we're like friends now, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
If
uh,
that's not a
uh,
friggin' four alarm fire
yeah, I'd
of
be out
like,
of the
get the F out of the house.
no.
If you saw this, I feel like if I saw this film in a movie, like in a theater, I would be screaming like, get out of the house.
I
Like,
mean, like
how much more has to happen?
how many times did you feel like screaming that the whole freaking time? And more times in the Danish film. In the American film, he sort of pranks him and in that same scene says, I'm not a doctor. And then he goes, just kidding. Of course I'm a doctor.
I think the American personality is rooted in a like, don't fuck with me kind of mentality a
Yeah.
little bit,
Yeah.
and would
Yes.
go, nah, fuck you, and leave.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they
So,
had to turn it into a little bit more of a joke because I don't think
yeah,
an American audience, then you've lost us. Now we
that's
don't
right.
care
Yeah, the
because
Americans
we're
would
like,
not
this
feel
isn't
sorry for,
real.
no, they wouldn't feel sorry for them. They'd be like
No.
idiots. Like,
Yeah,
of
you should have
course.
left. That guy
Yeah,
lied about being a doctor. You should have left. He just told you that.
yeah,
So they had to turn it into a joke. And there's a lot of other things about the film where they change it, right? Like, so
yeah,
in the end, and this is a spoiler, and we do want you to watch these movies because it is really fun to do this. And there's lots of other movies where you can do this too. See the European version or the original and then see the remake. But in the Danish version, the couple at the end, their daughter is taken from them. Her tongue gets cut out, which is what they had done to the little boy that they said was their son, but he was not. You realize that this couple has done this many, 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 many times. They have all these pictures on the wall that the husband has found of other families with the kids going back and forth in all these pictures. And he's like, holy crap. And he grabs his family, gets him in the car, is like, we have to go, we have to go, we have to go. And instead of saying to his wife, these people are going to kill us, they're serial killers, maybe, I don't know, I saw all these crazy pictures, like, you were right, we got to get out of here. He doesn't say shit. This is the part of the film that actually made me so upset, and maybe that was a good thing to be
yeah,
like, what are you doing? Like, he just gets him in the car and then he drives into a freaking ditch, and his wife's like, oh, we forgot this stuff. Why don't we just go back? We could use their phone. And he's like, no, 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 we can't go back. We can't go back. Instead of admitting that he's made this mistake, instead of admitting that like his wife was right the whole time to say, let's
yeah,
leave, he
yeah,
doesn't say crap. Even
yeah,
when the Dutch people show up, they've got another friend with them. They've come and now they're taking the girl, and then they take the Dutch couple to a rock quarry and they make them take off their clothes and get down into the rock quarry, and they stone them to death. And what's almost even more heartbreaking is the mother is saying to her little girl, nothing can happen to you. You're with mommy. I will always keep you safe.
yeah,
Nothing bad can happen. I'm with you. Because the little girl is freaking out because she's like,
yeah.
what is going on? And again, do you think this husband would say, oh fuck, let's get out of the car and run. No, that little bitch stays in the car and he just keeps the whole family in the car. And this is again, it's like, hey, I get it. Culturally, it's different, right?
In the
Yes.
American one, you get the feeling that he has in the past maybe emasculated him, and that so she is now letting him have his way to sort of make up for the times in the past where she has emasculated him. There's some
Yes.
inference that she's had an affair in the past. There is, you
Which they
know,
say is an emotional affair only. It was not a
oh
physical
yeah, right,
affair
an
because it was
emotional
just
affair.
text messages and he saw a penis picture or something.
Right.
Yep.
It's a penis picture. Like, who does that? Like, do people who don't have affairs send each other their penises? I'm just saying, like, I don't need a picture of your penis. It's here, it's now, or it's nothing. All right.
Yeah,
Anyway, so my point is that in the American one, he's like, oh man, she was right. Do you know what I mean?
absolutely.
Another
Yeah.
American sentiment, because we're sort of taught to follow our husbands, right? Follow our husbands, but like to only to a certain point. Like, should they like you got to listen to your wife too. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Sure.
In America, it's sort of like, yeah, but if she's really pushing you, maybe she's trying to say something. The kids in the American one are actually the ones who figure out what's happening. That these couple they're staying with are actually serial killers who have consciously stalked other couples with children before
Yeah.
and killed them and stolen their children, that this is like a ceremonial crime that they carry
Yeah.
out in the
Yeah.
same exact way, hence
Yep.
serial every single time. The children figure it out, and so the children are actually smarter than either of the parents
Yeah.
in the American version, which
Yes.
you know what I mean? Where so it's like the children
Ye-
kind of end up saving the day in a way.
Yeah,
And
I mean the kids definitely have a more activated role. It's not as completely innocent. The kids are a little bit older in the American version versus the
yeah,
Danish version, so I
that's true.
think that gives them a little bit more empowerment.
But I do think it's funny how in this American version they like all work together as a family to get out of the bad situation. Such very American
Hmm.
Hollywood ending. Like if
Very
we
Hollywood ending. And we're
uh
not just going to save ourselves, we're saving the kid too. We're not going to leave
yeah,
without the kid. Yeah.
exactly.
The savior complex comes in really hard. We're
Yeah,
saving everybody.
exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're saving everybody and healing our marriage in the process.
Yes. Yes.
And
Exactly.
so in the Danish film, as you said, the couple dies, doesn't fight for their child, and they get stoned to death by these like serial killers. In the
Yes.
American one, the
Yes.
child who has been kidnapped in the first place, whose tongue has been cut out, after the murder, after the couple has actually fought back and killed this perpetrator who's trying to hurt them, this child who's been abused and traumatized and has tongue cut out picks up a giant stone and then smashes the you know what out of the perpetrator who's already lying there dead. So he essentially does the stoning in the end,
Hmm.
even though the guy's already gone. But it's like this 8-year-old. So what's kind of shocking about the ending of the American one is watching this kid lose it on
Yeah.
and because the at the end of the Danish one, the where they stone the couple to death. I mean, it's first of all, we laugh about it when we're telling the story because it's like, holy, like you ignored your instincts, you ignored your wife, and now you're getting stoned to death for it. Like, wow, that's really
Yes.
extreme. But it is really disturbing ending because you're just watching them stand there and let it happen to them. Like they've given up. They don't, I
They've
think,
given up.
yeah.
They've failed so greatly that there's no chance to come back.
Yeah,
Um,
they're frozen. They don't see any way out of it. They aren't gonna try
mhm.
and fight. They aren't gonna try and run. So yeah, me and Aaron's instinct was like, yeah, you fight the psychos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the kid gets his. his moment of revenge on the guy who's hurt him, which is another thing Americans really love. You know what I mean? Is a
Yeah,
little,
evening the score.
even a
You do
little
this to me, I'm
payback.
gonna even the
Yeah,
score.
a little
Yeah,
payback.
totally. Absolute payback time.
Yeah.
When we're talking about also the differences, I think something to be mentioned is that for the American version of this film, this was under the Blumhouse Productions banner. Blumhouse, they have put out mainly horror movies. Um, they've done the Paranormal Activity franchise, the Insidious franchise, the Purge franchise, Get Out, Happy Death Day to You, the Halloween franchise. Like
Whoa.
they've done a lot of, they did Five Nights at Freddy's, Speak No Evil. So they've done a lot of those movies that it's to me falls into the category of high school date night thriller.
Mm. Mm.
Like something you can see when you're uh want to see something fun. It's like, ooh, I want to hold my boyfriend's hand or
Mm.
whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of has those jump scares and stuff. And I think that's part of the reason why there was a little bit of not a little bit, but the endings are completely different.
Hmm.
The American version is written and directed by James Watkins. And when I saw that, I thought, how could he have possibly written and directed this when it's exactly the same, until seeing how different the end was? And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, this is actually like a completely different movie. Okay, now let's talk about the lead psychopath, the guy.
Yeah. In American one, he's played by James McAvoy, who does
That's right.
very good job. He's very handsome, very creepy.
I was surprised. I'm going to say this. When I saw that he was the lead, I thought, kind of WTF, because I think of him from the X-Men movies
Yeah.
as you know, Professor Xavier. So I was like, wait, what? So he seems like so more of
Harsh
a
jump. Harsh
more
jump.
harsh jump, like he
Yeah.
seems more like meek and kind of just more of an intellectualist. So I was like, I could have seen him more almost as like the husband, but I
Yeah.
loved seeing him in this role because he really did step up to it and he was
Yeah.
scary and it looks like
Yeah.
he did build himself up. I don't know if he built himself up specifically for this role or if in other roles he just is dressed in a way that we don't realize that he's actually kind of a muscular, bruisey kind of dude. But
Yeah.
I was impressed by that. But that was one of the reasons why when I saw it, I was like, oh God, this is gonna be a tough swallow. I don't think I'm gonna love this. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure how this whole thing was gonna work. But he did do a really good job. Different vibe than the Dutch actor.
Yep.
Um, the Dutch actor feels to me, I don't know, just like psycho more right from the get-go. There's
Yeah.
something more about him that feels more scary. And I don't know if it's because I don't know him as an actor, so I don't recognize I didn't have the same ability to go, I've seen his other work as, Fred
I think
Flintstone. You know what I mean?
yeah, I think he went unhinged way more. Like I think he had a sort of like that, like he cuts loose into that sort of like crazy eyes, crazy laugh, all that kind of like did
Oh
you like that?
yeah.
That was
Oh
my that was my
yeah. That was a good
but
impression.
yeah, but he goes unhinged way, like he takes it to like sort of like loony bin kind of, and I use that term on purpose, like that sort of
Yes.
generic
Yes.
version of like this guy's like really lost it. He is really tickled by all these horrible things that he's doing and
Yes.
maniacal. He went way more maniacal where the American psychopath seemed like
More calculating.
yeah, more calculating. He had kind of like a hunter vibe. There is a scene that's about three-quarters of the way through the movie where the psycho husband and then the husband of the visiting couple are alone in a car together on a ride.
Mm.
It's the scene is they're driving off to go get more beer or something like that. And
Hmm.
he wants to take his new friend to show him a local site,
Yes.
like a pretty area. And then on
Mhm.
this long, car ride, um, he listens to music. He wants to play him a song. In the American version, he plays him Eternal Flame by the Bangles.
Mhm.
In the um, Danish version, he plays him a song. I looked it up. Sort of a similar feeling, sort of a atmospheric sort of sounding, something you might imagine coming out of a music box. Like if you think of Eternal Flame, it's got that sort of like
Yeah.
creepy sort of music box sort of.
Do, 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 do,
Do,
do,
do,
do,
do.
do,
Yeah.
do, do.
But in the first one, it's by the artist Paul Mueller or Moeller, and
Mhm.
it's called "For One Who Does Not Remember" is the title of the song. And basically, they're using this what is almost like actually in the Danish film, he refers to it as it sounds like angel voices to him. So you can see why Eternal Flame also
Yes.
has that quality of angel voices. And it's kind of this interesting scene because he's singing along to, in both films, he's
Mhm.
singing along to the song on the radio,
Mhm.
staring at the husband in the face, like another moment of uncomfortableness. Like
Yeah.
talk about awkward. Like he's like serenading the husband. Um, in a way where it's like it almost seems like he's trying to be vulnerable with him or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a faked vulnerability. Yeah.
Fake vulnerability.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like the husband is perceiving it as this soft side, yeah, of this
Yeah.
guy. But really it's the calm before the storm. It's like he's getting himself all centered and it's like almost like meditative. But it's interesting because I think it shows the polarity
Yeah.
of that kind of psycho character. It's like he's all in
Yes.
his feelings in one moment, like,
Yes.
trying to get like all in his feelings in this song or whatever, and very but he's really just like getting really focused and
Oh, yeah. This is like the pump up song.
yeah, and so it's basically creating all this tension in the movie because the movie's about to turn. And so it's
Oh,
sort of
yeah.
like this. Yeah. But I just think it's interesting that they use this sort of like soft, sort of romantic. I mean, that's just another one of those moments where it's like, wouldn't you leave? Wouldn't he be like
Yeah.
freaked out by this guy like staring at him so hard in the eyes and singing this song to him? I mean, it's just like a million, it's just sort of inappropriate. It's not about like, it's like you acts of vulnerability maybe aren't for new friends. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's really I think part of what is also like another layer of the manipulation, right? It's
Yeah.
like I seem so tough and I know I am and you've seen this like hard side of me and I've been weird in front of your wife and I've done all this stuff, but you know
Yeah.
what? I'm actually like a really sensitive guy.
Right.
And
Exactly.
here's me opening up about this song. It's really touching for me. And like, let
Yeah.
me show you this part of me, like my soft side, my real
Yeah.
soft side. Whereas inside, you just, to me, it feels like just that further and final level of entrapment.
Yes.
It's
Well,
like the final thing. So if
it's
anything
the
else happens, the husband's also backing him up. Like, you don't know him like I do. You haven't
well,
seen this other side of him.
right. And it's sort of the penultimate moment actually, because right after that, he takes him to the to a cliff and helps him get out his feelings by
Oh
doing this
yeah.
like primal scream out.
Oh yeah.
And this happens almost exactly the same in both movies. And I think it's so important because it's a sort of a moment of manipulation. So first he, like you said, he gives him this,
Yes.
he shows him this vulnerability with him. Like, I
Yeah.
loved how you said it. How did you say it?
Um, the softness of
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. He shows him,
Yeah, like I'm actually really soft inside.
yeah,
I've got
I'm really
this.
soft. Yeah,
I
exactly.
seem hard, but I'm really soft.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and then he takes him out and he helps him uh get out his anger. And he
Yes.
guides him through, also
Yes.
making him feel okay about it. Like he says, I
Yes.
have this thing in me and I just need, and he's like, I have this
Yes.
thing in me too. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
he
And that, gosh, and what different things they have inside.
right.
Um,
But it's like that's how he builds trust with him, kind of. It's like he keeps going against his instincts because this guy's like essentially like romantic. He's essentially like building him up. He's like giving him self-esteem, making him feel good about himself,
oh
making him feel
yeah.
safe, making
Yeah.
him, oh, helping him get out his anger when you feel great too.
Oh my
After, it's
gosh.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so he's got this guy right where he wants him. He's made him feel like $1 million, and now it's like he's, you know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
like,
It did remind me, that character dynamic did remind me, and I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but if you've had like the one crazy friend that you're like, they're okay, and all of your other friends are like, yo,
mm-mm.
that person is vibey. Like, what the hell? And then,
Yeah.
but to you, they're like, either, I had this one girl in my life at one point, and she was just like, but you're the best. You're so wonderful, and you're so great. And at the time, I was like, oh, yeah, I am. Oh, cool. No, she's so cool, you
She's
guys.
great.
She says I'm awesome. I want her to
Yeah.
stick around as much as
Yeah.
possible. And
Yeah.
everyone else is like, yo, this is called single white female. Like, have you seen that movie? She is obsessed with you and she's going to try to
Yeah.
take over your life. She didn't do that. But, it's
Yeah.
like I feel like many people have had that experience. Maybe they haven't, but you give the person the benefit of the doubt because you feel like you've got this special bond with them, or you have a deeper understanding, or they've like shared more with you. So you're like, no, you don't know, but like they told me this and I really get them. And it kind of makes you feel you back them up even when their behavior is fucked up.
Yeah.
And this is what these two have. It's
Yeah.
like
To
he's, you know,
to bring it back to the Southwest route,
yes,
my Southwest roots. In Arizona, you have to watch your dog very closely because there are wild coyotes. And these coyotes,
yes,
for those of you who don't know what a coyote is, it's a wild dog essentially, sort of somewhere
yeah,
between a wolf and a dog. And coyotes will come down to from the mountains to your yard and they will visit your dog without attacking them. They will come down, they'll sort of sniff around, kind of make buddies with your dog so that your dog doesn't gets familiar with them. And then over time, they visit and they visit, and then your dog's guard is down. And then once your dog's guard is down on one of these visits, they will attack your dog and take him for food. And so it reminded me this scene of that kind of prey. It's like he's making him comfortable. He's sort of reeling him in, making him safe,
ooh,
creating the perfect
ooh,
environment
yeah,
for
oh
for
yeah,
him to sort of take him down.
oh yeah.
And that sort of, I was watching this moment, I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. This is not good. He is being too nice.
Oh
Too
gosh,
nice.
yeah. That's a great example with that
Yeah,
coyote thing. Yikes. That's
yeah. So anyways, by the time all this happens, they come back and the sort of the final scene occurs where the takedown of the couple. And so I thought that it was like a pre-ceremony sort of, you know what I mean?
oh
Like
yeah.
the ceremony, more like the ceremony before
Yes.
the big
The
games.
absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
opening ceremonies. Yeah.
Yes. So let's go now to our vinyl record rating.
Okay, I'm gonna say I like the Danish film better.
Hmm.
Simply because it was so drastically different than anything I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Watching them not fight back, all that at last scene, the way it happened, the
Disturbing. Yeah.
yeah, then being left with questions. Yeah, like you said, being having to accept this couple as simply somebody who's doing it for sport and not for any kind of like survival, you know?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Um, it was scary as all get out. It was very, very scary. So I would give it maybe like a I'm gonna say 9, baby.
Ooh, yeah, that's good. That's a
9.
really good one.
And the American one I'm gonna say 7 because it was still a great watch.
Yeah, it was a good watch. Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I mean, I agree with you. I liked the European version more. I liked the Danish version more. It felt really creepy to me. I did watch it when I had COVID, and when I had COVID this time, one side of my tongue was actually swollen and hurting a lot. So when it got to that scene where they cut out that person's tongue, I actually
Oh,
slammed. I was watching this in bed. I was so sick. Slammed my laptop down and had to get up and go to the bathroom. I thought I was going to throw up. It was like so disturbing to me. So,
oh my God.
and then that movie just like freaking haunted me for like a month. I just thought it was the creepiest, like so disturbing. So I'm also going to get it a 9, which is
Yeah,
like very high.
yeah,
But it really was so effective in the psychological thriller sense. I had not seen a movie of this type in a very, very, very long time that kind of affected me in the same way.
yeah.
So definitely a 9. Um, and the American version, it's fun. I know that when we were talking about Blink Twice last week, I gave Blink Twice a 5. So I would feel it's unfair to give the American version, you know, that much higher. But I do think from the sense of novelty, and they did fight back, and I like a film where they win in the end. I like to see a good ending. I mean,
Yeah.
not that Blink Twice didn't have a good ending, but just like, I don't know, there's something about this that I thought was good, in the way that they changed it and made it very different. So I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay.
I'd watch it on a plane and maybe I'd watch it again. Like if it was on TV and I'm making dinner, like I'll leave it on. I'd watch it
Okay.
again.
This is the second time you've said you watch it on a plane, and let me tell you, I'm not watching anything scary on a plane. I will not. It's like watching a movie with dirty scenes in it on a plane. It's like I
So
don't want these
I
people.
guess,
I don't want these people to
I
judge me.
guess. Well, when I say,
Yeah.
like, to me, when I say I'll watch it on a plane, it means like I'm trapped, I'm bored, I can't leave, I have
Yeah.
nothing, I'm burning time. It's like, okay, if I just have to burn time, I guess like I'll watch this. If I don't see something else that's more interesting, sure, I'll let that
Yeah.
burn my time.
Yeah.
Um, but so that's my feel on it.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
let's talk about this band that you brought up that was in the film.
The
That was
Bangles.
the Bangles, one of the great girl bands of the 80s.
Yeah. Do you know what's funny is I don't know that much about the Bangles. I know Eternal Flame, obviously.
Mhm.
Because like it was, I think, well, that's another funny point about it is Eternal Flame is like essentially a romantic song. It's such a like that was a slow dance song. At dances in my school.
Totally.
Like everybody liked it. It's like a real really plays on your feel. It's a real feelers manipulator.
Well, the Bangles, okay, so it's like, so Susanna Hoffs wrote the song with two really hit songwriters,
Oh, that
um,
I do
Billy
know.
Billy Steinberg and Tom Kelly. So it's like they
Yes.
came on and they're like, let's write this slam and hit, which they successfully did. So in 1989, it was the number one hit in 9 countries. In Australia,
Wow.
Sweden, the United Kingdom, the United States, and obviously some more. And since its release, it's been covered by multiple music artists, including Australia boy band Human Nature
Wow.
and the British girl group Atomic Kitten. Um, So I think what's cool about it is it was like this huge hit in multiple countries, and in the way that they use it in the film, these guys both have a moment to kind of like connect on this song that is so emotional, right? Like,
Yep.
da, give me your hand, darling. Do
Yes.
you feel my heart beating? Do you understand? And all that, and it goes on and on.
Yeah.
And it's a huge song. Oh, and the B-side, just to say what the B-side was of this record on Eternal Flame, the single,
Manic
Walk
Monday.
Like an Egyptian, extended dance mix.
So check this out. Manic
Yeah.
Monday was one of
Yeah.
their biggest hits. It was written by Prince under the pseudonym Christopher.
Oh, that's cool.
They were kind of up against a lot of men during this time. This was like they
Yes.
were playing they and this was some chicks that were like really playing their instruments. I mean, Erin and I are in a Guns N' Roses tribute band called Guns N' Hoses.
Mhm.
One of the reoccurring comments that is made towards the members after the show is, "You were really playing those instruments."
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like, of course we were. We're like,
Oh
this
my
isn't what
goodness.
did you think we were
Yes.
gonna? We were like playing air guitar. We were lip syncing.
Yes.
No,
Yes. Yes.
no. So there, this is a time where this is in the time of hair rock, the beginning years of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
These
Mm-hmm.
gals
Mm-hmm.
are standing up right next to these sort of um metal heady kind of dudes and really playing their instruments and but furthermore they're
Good
hot.
musicians. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But furthermore they're hot and they have like so many hits. They have
So
so
many
many
hits.
hits. And if Prince like loves you and is like writing songs for you, then you're doing something right
Oh,
because
absolutely. You're doing something right. Yeah.
yeah.
And as women who've been in the music industry for a long time, I think you and I can both attest that you can't just be good. You have to be great
Hmm.
in a male dominated industry.
Hmm.
We've gotten so many comments. I mean, just being in Guns N' Hoses, but even beyond that, I mean, like even before we started that, which was started so that we could meet each other, have
Yeah.
more women who are in the music scene meet each other and play together and have like, that commonality. But years before when I was just trying to form a band with one of my girlfriends, I remember auditioning this guy. He auditioned for our group, knowing the two current members are named Erin and Lucy. Like, okay, so I can
Yeah.
kind of see maybe Erin is a little bit can be both names, but you're seeing my spelling. And yes, I do have a friend who spells his name the same way and is also named Erin. So
Hmm.
fine, okay, maybe Aaron could have been a guy, but like Lucy, that's pretty much a girl. He shows up to our audition, he plays, and he was fine. But then he says to us, and I did not like him, by the way, right from the go. I thought this guy was weird. He's like, well, I mean, I would be in your band, but like, it's not like girls can actually rock. Like, girls can't rock, girls can't play rock. And I looked at him and I was like,
Are you a
bro,
character of yourself, sir?
bro, you have a Daffy Duck tattoo. You think you can rock? You have a fucking Daffy Duck tattoo. Like, get out of my fucking face. You're such a what? Get out of here. That's the kind of crap that you have to deal with. It's like, oh yeah, but you can rock with your little Daffy Duck tattoo. You're so
Yeah.
metal. Get out of my face.
The
So,
audacity of the directness is unreal. I worked at a guitar store starting from the time I was 17, and people would walk in, dudes would walk in and literally be like, I'd be like, "Can I help you?" And they'd be like, "Can I see a guy?" There was no nuance. There was no
ugh,
hidden. They'd just be like, is there a guy that can help me? I'd like prefer a man." And I'd be like, "Sure." I didn't even fight because like
yeah, it's no point.
it's already over at that
Yeah.
point. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
These
Yeah.
women are in late 80s and they're like early 80s, mid 80s, whatever. I'm sure it's 1,000 times worse.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
there was
yeah.
not a lot of women then, and there still is not a lot of women now. And when
Yeah.
you read, different stats on that, it's always incredibly disappointing.
Hmm.
And I like that it's getting better. I think it's great that there's more female producers like you, Emmy, who is an incredible musical producer.
Aw, thanks.
and very, very knowledgeable. And that's what we need to have happening more to kind of turn the tide.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Anyways, I was just
yeah.
saying, yeah, saying, wow, how amazing. What a time to have to be all females. What a time to play rock and what a time to like be on the top of the charts in that way because it's like you just have to be ready to defend yourself by being awesome. So
Oh
that
yeah.
they had to be really awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they had to be really
Honestly,
awesome.
people talked about the Go-Go's like they weren't awesome. The Go-Go's were so good. The Go-Go's were
Oh,
such talented musicians, such good
so sick,
songwriters.
dude.
Yeah, Belinda
So, oh,
Carlisle was such a good singer. She sang her ass off.
oh yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
Billy Steinberg and Tom Kelly, who wrote Eternal Flame,
Yep.
also wrote Like a Virgin
Ooh.
and Cyndi Lauper's True Colors.
Ooh. And
And
you know something else? All three of these songs, huge karaoke favorites.
I'm
If you've ever
so
gone to a
glad you brought that
karaoke bar, this
up.
is the go-tos, baby. I feel
Yep.
like that could be a drinking game. You're there and you're like, how long? What's the karaoke bingo card that people have to hit? They have to hit Like a Virgin. They have to hit Eternal Flame,
Yeah.
and they have to hit True Colors.
The song was inspired by two things: a visit Hoffs made to Graceland, where she saw an eternal flame at Elvis Presley's grave,
Oh,
and the eternal flame at a Palm Springs synagogue that Steinberg had visited as a child. The song became a huge hit, reaching #1 on the Billboard charts in 1989.
yeah.
But I listened to a podcast where about Billy Steinberg and Tom Kelly, and oh my gosh, that like talk about brilliant songwriting duos. They just started everything with an acoustic guitar. They felt like if you didn't write it on an acoustic guitar, it wasn't going to hold up the rest of the way. That's
Wow.
one
Interesting.
specific opinion. I've actually heard like Charlene, our bandmate Charlene, has said that everything she writes, she needs it to be on an acoustic guitar, work on an acoustic guitar first.
Oh, interesting.
That I can say that that might be true because an acoustic guitar is a rhythm instrument,
Yes.
and so it's sort of like you're kind of like the how the drums and the are going to kind of fit into any kind of production of it. That being said,
Sure.
people write all the time without them. They start from scratch to just bass or to just drums, and
Yeah.
genius songs are written. But that was Tom Kelly and Billy Steinberg's specific method, and they talked about songwriting so simplistically, like
Yes.
it was sort of inspiring to listen to, just to any concept
Was
that
this the Soda Jerker podcast?
yeah, Soda Jerker. I
So
love
yeah,
Soda
Soda Jerker
Jerker.
is a fantastic podcast that you actually got me onto.
Oh,
That's
good.
all about songwriting. And I
Yeah.
think like one of the best things as a songwriter, which you and I both are,
Hmm.
is understanding and learning more about other songwriters.
Oh,
Right. I
yeah.
mean, I always find that fascinating because everybody's got their own technique. And
Hmm. And
but of course there's overlaps. There's a lot of, yeah.
yeah, and just like the people's process, it's an evolving situation, but I think once you find something that works for you,
Yep.
um, you kind of generally approach it the same way. You end up kind of getting similar results in a lot of ways. Generally I feel like that happens. You like maybe catch a little breeze and ride a wave, whatever
Yeah,
metaphor you want to use. Like you
totally.
stick to a process for a while, and anyways, they pumped out the hits doing it that way. So, which is really really cool.
I
So,
love that. Let's talk about what we're going to be talking about next week in case
okay,
people want to follow along. If you want to watch the movie that we're going to be watching, we're going to be trying to tell you about it beforehand so you can
that's
watch
smart,
it. And when we
smart.
have these conversations, you're going to be in the know. So
Yeah,
next week's movie is Joker, the
Joker,
Joker
Folie
film
à
with
deux,
Lady
Folie
Gaga.
à deux, which is spoiler alert because we're not trying to keep secrets here. A musical.
Folie à deux.
Did you know it was a musical?
No, I didn't know it's a musical. It's a
Yeah.
musical. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Oh my my God.
Now
Okay.
you
All
don't want to
right.
watch it. See, everybody's reaction is now I don't want to watch it, but guess what? We're gonna watch it. That's
Okay,
like
we're
the
gonna watch it, and maybe that's actually perfect. That's perfect film for us to watch then.
because the redo of Mean Girls, that was a musical.
Yes.
Yeah, and I watched it and I was like, when someone told me it was a musical, I was like, no, not no. And then I watched it and I
Yeah.
was like, I really liked that. I enjoyed that. I mean, I don't know.
Oh,
I was watching it
I
without judgment. I was just watching it for enjoyment and I enjoyed it.
I haven't that one on my skip it list. Skip it. Skip it.
Well,
You know,
the fall. I'm excited to watch Folia Do with you because it looks very like the scene, like the shots look very rich. I'm really pretty excited. Extreme.
yeah.
Hey, I want to surprise you though right now by putting some
Yes.
homework on you that I think we should add to our list since it is like leading up to Halloween. I think we should do like
Hmm.
another one because I watched Strange Darling.
Ooh, okay. Strange Darling.
So I think that you should watch Strange Darling. We'll add it to the list next week. And so we'll do Strange Darling and Folia de and can't wait to see what you think because I have so much to say about it
Ooh, okay.
and I can't wait to see what you think. I'm not going to tell you anything.
Okay.
I don't want you to read about it first. I just want you
Okay.
to go
Ooh, I
into
love
it.
that.
I want you to
Okay.
experience it from the second it starts to the end without any preconceived notions.
Ooh, okay, I will do that. And then we should also mention
Mhm.
we will have a special Halloween episode
Oh
coming up. Special Halloween episode, which we are both terrified of. So falling into, we'll talk more about that. But thank you so much for listening. Please rate and follow us where you listen to podcasts. We are
Yeah.
on.
We are on Instagram and on working on getting on TikTok, and we'd love for you to follow us there. Leave a comment, share our posts, anything helps. Tell your friends
Yes.
about our podcasts.
Yes.
We are really trying to build this thing up, and it matters to us. We want to thank everyone who's listened so far.
Yes. Thank you so much for your support.
Yeah, thank you so much for your support. We are doing this because we believe in good films and good music, and we want to keep pumping our energy into the artists that are making these great pieces of work. Because as artists, it's the only thing you can truly ask for is to be seen and to be heard. So
Absolutely.
let's keep watching and listening.
Yeah. So tune in on iTunes, Spotify. We have just launched our YouTube. We'll make a bigger announcement about that. But thank you so much. And please, please, if you have a moment, please write us a review on Spotify or on iTunes. It really helps us get more hits to those channels. And the more people we have subscribed, the more we can bring to you. That is special and wonderful.
Please join us next week, and we look forward to getting scared with you. And then after October, we are going to open up the genre of movie outside of horror film.
Yeah. But till then, let's get freaky scary together.
Okay,
All right. Thank
bye.
you so much.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
1, 2.